Space. Silent, empty, deadly. But what if we brought something very human into this void, our own little Big Bang? A gun.
In space!
You fire it on Earth, and you know what happens. Muzzle flash, recoil, boom, smoke. But what if you fire it out there? Would the bullet just float away? Would it even work? Jane here from Relax Fit. Today, we're diving deep, not just into whether a gun can fire in space, but what happens after the trigger is pulled. Some science, some physics, and the terrifying real-world consequences. Let's go. Alright, first question. Can a gun even fire in space? There's no oxygen, no air pressure. Sounds like a hard no, right? Actually, wrong. Modern ammunition is self-contained. The primer, powder, and oxidizer are all built into one cartridge. And probably a tiny bit of O2. That means a gun doesn't need atmospheric oxygen to go bang. So yes, a gun will fire in space. But it won't sound like it. There's no air to carry the noise, just a silent muzzle flash and a forceful kick. In the movies, they like to make it sound like it's underwater. But if anything, they would just feel like a concussive blast vibration like a deaf person at a rave. And that kick? That's where things start getting interesting. Bullet trajectory. So now the gun fires. What happens to the bullet? On Earth, bullets slow down. Air drags on them. Gravity pulls them down, so they have an arc and then hit the ground. But in space, no gravity, no drag, no resistance. That bullet leaves the barrel and just keeps going, and going, and going, in a straight line, at lethal speed. Forever. Unless it hits something. Could be a satellite, a space station, asteroid, maybe, centuries later, a planet, or a UFO. Here on Earth, a bullet's dangerous for a mile or two. In space, it could be a weapon that travels across solar system given enough time. Fun tip, it would take a 9mm bullet about 12 days to reach the moon, not taking Earth or moon's gravity into account. What happens to the shooter? Okay. So the bullet flies off forever, but what about you? Newton's third law, every action has an equal and opposite reaction, right? Just say yes. That recoil you barely feel on Earth. In zero gravity, it launches you backwards. Fire a pistol and you'll drift slowly per each shot, building speed. Fire a rifle and you might start spinning. No air resistance, no gravity, no ground. You'll just keep moving until something stops you, or you run out of oxygen. Unless you're anchored or tethered, firing a gun in space. Could be a one-way trip into the void. Or make sure you carry a spare mag to go the other way. What video game does that remind me of? Space warfare. Now, let's push this idea further. What if the gun isn't handheld? What if you mount it on a satellite? Turns out, both the US and Soviet Union actually considered space weapon during the Cold War, not lasers, guns, firing bullets in orbit. Because a projectile in space, launched at the right speed and angle, with some math, you could try and hit a target, or have it enter a perpetual orbit. Now imagine, one bullet circling the planet every 90 minutes. Waiting to collide with a satellite, triggering a debris cascade that wipes out hundreds of systems. This is called the Kessler syndrome. One bullet, infinite consequences. But wouldn't that change the orbit of the firing satellite? Too much math. Guns on the moon, Mars, and beyond. Let's change the location. What happens if you fire a gun on the moon? Well, there is gravity, about 1/6 of Earth's, but no air, no sound. So a bullet fired on the moon travels a lot farther than on Earth, with a long arc. Still deadly, just you can hit targets tens of miles away. And no, you can't shoot a bullet into space from the moon. What little gravity the moon has is still too strong for that. But what people don't realize is that no atmosphere equals no wind, no mirage, and no bullet stabilization from spin drift. Your scope would need a full moon overhaul. Now, let's go to Mars. The air is thin. The gravity is weaker than Earth's. So your scope would still need a full Martian overhaul. Gunshots sound weaker than on Earth. Not bang, but more recoil since less gravity equal less grounded shooter. So, spicier feedback. Bullets fly triple your effect range, but Mars has superfine dust. It's clingy, static charged, and gets into everything. Your AR would be clogged faster than a public toilet at a truck stop. Field strip often, or get wrecked. Speaking of stripping, our t-shirt at relaxfittactical.com guaranteed to trigger some people and make others high-five you. Practical dangers. But let's get practical for a second. What happens if you fire a gun near people or inside a spacecraft? Well, spacesuits aren't bulletproof. One shot could pierce the suit, vent oxygen, and kill the astronaut. Okay, what about slight bite and gloves? Shoot your semi-auto pistol in space and might tear your glove. I guess you could space cowboy it up and have a revolver inside a ship? Even worse. Sonic repercussion of shooting a gun in a tin can would be horrible. Everyone's ears blow out, you could rupture a tank, crack a window, and then blow a hole in the hull. One bullet equals everyone is dead. Total decompression. Fun fact, Russian cosmonaut did carry shotgun, but not for space. For landing in Siberia because bears. Future tech. So yes, a gun works in space, but it's not the future of space combat. The real weapons? Mass drivers. Railguns, with back boosters to compensate for the blast. Electromagnetic launchers perhaps? No chemical propellant, just electricity. Pure, clean, terrifying force. Precise. And if you shoot a laser in space, it loses power over distance due to beam divergence. So if you miss, no biggie. So what happens when you shoot a gun in space? The bullet flies, you fly backwards. And the consequences echoes for centuries. One shot in space never truly disappears. It's still out there, drifting, waiting. What is also waiting is that subscribe button. Zap it and that bell notification, and don't forget to pick up one of our badass t-shirts below, guaranteed to piss someone off.